With the finger?
Go with his fingers are on this side, right? Because I hold it this side. But
We're up on YouTube.
That's fun.
Okay.
never thought about
Okay,
it.
we okay, Jackie, then?
Every time.
We okay? We're good? Okay. Okay, welcome to our city council meeting for Wednesday, September 24th. We're going to start tonight with a Pledge of Allegiance by Jackie.
Will the audience please rise and recite the Pledge of Allegiance with me? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. We'll go to item 4.2, City Council comments and recognitions. Anything from council tonight?
Holy smokes, was that event fun, the inflatable dash. If you guys did not see that, there's a Facebook photo or video. Mitch did amazing producing that and kind of his little brainchild. So kudos to our communication departments there. So thanks.
Okay. Seeing no other comment, we'll go to item 5 tonight, public comment. At this point, audience members may bring any item within the city's purview to the city council's attention. Comments will be limited to 2 minutes. State law prohibits the council from acting on items that do not appear on the agenda. Public comments for this meeting will also be conducted electronically. Any person interested in addressing the council may submit a comment by emailing recorder@herriman.gov or by visiting herriman.gov/agendas and minutes, where there is a link to fill out an online public comment form. Your statement will be incorporated into the public record. So at this point, we'll open that public comment. Okay, seeing none tonight, we'll go on to item 6. We'll do our city council reports. We'll start with Jared.
Nothing tonight.
Okay, Teddy.
Yes, we went to a couple board meetings this week with Jordan Basin Improvement District just the other morning. Good discussion. We're looking at, we did a bunch of maintenance on the facility this last month, but we also have an upcoming future expansion. We were able to travel to several different locations to get the best technology and learn what we want or need in our new facility. So that was pretty huge. But the funnest one, Sherry and I were there this morning on South Valley Chamber meeting. They have some really fun things happening. Not only the Titans Business Awards coming up, I think Shelley put out an email on that, I believe. If the council wanted to attend, we have a table there coming up very soon. And then we have lots of institutes for 2026 and some leadership sponsorship stuff there. But the funnest thing is the practice facility for the Mammoth, for the Utah Hockey Club. We'll be soon opening, and we'll have a tour there. The board will. We might be able to get a guest in or two if you wanted to. It's an amazing facility. And then the new the new arena downtown, the Delta Center, is refurbished as well. A lot of new sight lines, a lot of better seating. They showed us some renditions or some pictures of that. And it looks pretty cool. So I think the next, in a week, was it a week or 10 days they're opening? I think next weekend is their first event there. So a preseason practice game. So it's pretty awesome. Brand new ice, brand new seats, stuff like that. So that's all I have in there.
Okay, thank you, Teddy. Sherry.
Yep, the seats are just real steep, so don't fall down, but you have better view. I attended the Wasatch Front Waste and Recycling District board meeting. We discussed, we're going into our budget season, so we discussed some of the preliminary budget information. We discussed quite a bit about the trailer rental program, and I think that the direction the board was going was to direct them to discontinue the trailer rental. Part of the big cost in trailer rentals also is these trailers are on wheels, so they all have to be insured. So there's just another layer of costs that are associated with that versus a roll-off can compared to a pull-behind trailer. Anyway, so I think that they're going to bring some options back at the next board meeting. We'll see that expense go away. It was just really about in excess of $500,000 a year it was costing the district to offer that service, so that we were not receiving revenues to cover that. So, and then we discussed a little bit about the RFP coming out for the feasibility study for Herriman's withdrawal from the districts. So that's continued to move forward, and we have a meeting scheduled in October to continue that moving along. And then I was not able to attend the Transjordan meeting. I was actually out of town that day, but Justin attended, and he sent me some notes. Probably the biggest thing on here would be that the future of glass recycling is becoming a real big topic in landfills, and so they're going to be looking at that. Maybe there's some legislative things coming up on that, and then the importance of keeping e-waste and batteries out of the landfill. They said there's an average of 2 fires per week at Transjordan due to batteries. So make sure that we're properly disposing of your batteries. It's really easy. You can drive out to Transjordan. It doesn't cost anything if you take them and tell them you have those kinds of things to dispose of. You just pull in, drop them off, and they're disposed of properly versus starting fires. So really be conscious of that. And then the transfer station, that they did the open house and they started commercial dumping a couple of weeks ago, but it's open to the public as of October 1st. So if you don't want to if you have a trailer that needs dumped and you don't have to drive out through the Please Pop My Tire area at Transjordan, you can go to the new transfer station as of October 1st for the public. It's in the river bottoms on just north of 90th South. And that's it.
Perfect. Thank you, Sherry. My only report, I was invited to attend water school a couple weekends ago down outside of Cedar City. It was a 3-day conference. I talked to Sherry a little bit about it. Just a ton of education about water, where it comes from, the cost of infrastructure, which we know is everybody struggling with that all the city. So this is the 4 largest water districts put this on to educate. There were 10 local elected officials and 10 state legislators, and we just really small conference that just brainstorm and talk and educate. So I'll get slides over to everybody. They just sent the slides over this week. A lot of great information, kind of drinking from the fire hose, over 3 days, but so much good. I mean, had no idea how far water traveled to get even to the Jordan, to the treatment station there. Miles, hundreds of miles sometimes the water travels for our valley, actually. So it's crazy, but I'll send the council some information on that. And John, it'd be fun to educate a little bit on some of that stuff, so I'll get it over to you as well. So
I have a trivia question for you. I learned at a water conference. I keep my glasses in my cupboard upside down. Do most of you? Do you know when that started? Was during the Dust Bowls. When they were having the Dust Bowls, because people's glasses would fill up with dust, so they started tipping their glasses upside down so they didn't fill with dust during the Dust Bowl time. So there you go.
Fascinating.
I learned that at a water conference.
I like that. Great, thank you, everybody. Okay, we'll go on to item 8.1 tonight. Speaking of water, 2025 water use update. Justin.
Great segue, Mayor.
I planned it.
So when we talked about doing this, Wendy said, hey, we should probably give the council a water use update this year. And we looked back, and the last time we really did was 2022. So we'll cover the last few years. But Anthony and I will kind of tag team this. I'll go through some of the overall city water numbers and totals. And then I'll turn some of the time over to Anthony, and he can talk specifically about the city-owned property and parks water use. There we go. So we'll focus on summer water use. Looking over the winter data, it doesn't change that much. We use around 6,000 gallons a month for a single-family home. And it's pretty consistent. From month to month, it might change a few hundred gallons, but it's pretty consistent. So we'll kind of focus on the summer water use. We will touch on a little bit of year totals. But we'll go over some of these items here. We'll look at weather trends over the last few years and show how those, potentially have impact. And then we'll talk about the city-owned property. So looking at the citywide summer water use, you'll see this table shows from 2022 through 2025, April through October, which is generally considered the irrigation season. And you can look from 2022 to 2025 how we've upped and down, but we've steadily increased throughout the year. Upwards to our July is generally our highest month, to where we're using about 700 million gallons of water per month in just July. So you can see how just steadily those increases have happened. This year, you'll see a significant increase in May, June. July was about even, but then August is much higher. We don't have September's water use yet, but we'll continue this and try and give you an update on total 2025 next year. Looking just at residential water, you'll see that we have a steady increase as well through the summer months. And this year, you'll see that again, we had a major increase in May. June was a little bit higher. July was about the same, but August is much higher, just for residential water use. I do want to point out, though, before I move on, that if you recall, in 2021, 2022, there was a large statewide conservation push. And I think you saw that because in 2020 and 2021, 2020 was one of our highest years ever in water use. And then you saw that statewide push for conservation, and our team here as well helped push that message to our residents, and it definitely shows. That statewide conservation messaging definitely helps. 2022 was very low. 23 we saw a slight increase, but then in 24 and now in 25 we're seeing that rebound. Part of that may be because we also had some large snow years also, which people tend to think that we have a lot of snow in the mountains, then they're not as, conservation minded. So conservation messaging will still be important. I also wanted to point out here, if you recall that the council adopted the water efficiency standards, and just wanted to show now that what we're seeing is it's taken a couple years to be able to collect enough data to compare what a traditional landscape, or prior to the water efficiency standards, to compare those landscapes with water efficiency standards. One of those reasons is homes are only required to have the front yard put in, so it takes a couple years for them to be able to get the backyard in and then get enough water data over a year to collect that. So it's taken us a couple years, but we're starting to see that those water efficiency standards are definitely conserving water. You can see the dark blue and kind of the teal line there. Those are the two years, so 24 and 25 through August in 25. And then the green and the kind of purple magenta color there are the traditional lots. And we're seeing about a 30% decrease in overall water use with those water efficient standard lots. So I think as we progress and we get more of those throughout the city, our overall water consumption will come down. But moving into the future, I think it was forward-thinking of the council to do that, along with Jordan Valley, to push those water efficiency standards. As you can see, this is gallons per capita, so this is gallons per person per day. You can see again, 2020, we were fairly high, 21, and then 22, you saw those conservation measures really kick in. And then you can see that we're climbing back up to approximately the 2020 numbers again. So definitely conservation is going to be needed to continue that push, but we're seeing that climb back up again. I will say that we are far below the state average and even some of the surrounding communities. I think a lot of that is attributed to we're a young city, and so a lot of our homes were built with water efficient indoor fixtures and things like that compared to other older cities. So this is just looking at comparing. So this is looking back a year, not including 2025 because we don't have a full year's worth of data. but just wanted to see growth definitely has an impact in water, total overall water use, and we're a growing city. So I wanted to show what the amount of increased water due to growth compared to increased consumption. So that the top table there shows the increase in our total, in our connections per year, and then looking at just an average of 173,000 gallons per year per connection, that increase in growth in just the connections is approximately 283 million gallons. Then looking at our increase in parks as well, we continue to build parks. We've increased a total of about 17 acres of parks, which if we use an overall average of just under 500,000 gallons of water per acre on a park, that increases about 8.5 million gallons. So that bottom, I'll try and explain it a little bit. So comparing, because the growth happened and we're capturing that in 2022, I went back and had the total of 2021 so that we could compare that to our 2024 year-end totals. And the additional water total was about 574 million gallons of additional water. And of that additional, about 290 million gallons was due to growth. So we can see that increase in consumption from 2021 to 2024 was about 282 million, just in the consumption increase, not just growth. So then here's looking at summer temperatures and precipitation since just through the summer months since 2022. You can see fairly consistent, but this last year we've had our May and June and July and August temperatures were much higher than previous years by a couple degrees. That may not sound like a lot, but when you put lack of precipitation on top of that, you can see increased water demands will happen. So we basically had 0 precipitation since May. We're starting to see some in the last few weeks in September, but through June and July and August, we basically saw no precipitation. And then with increased temperatures. So any questions before I turn it over to Anthony?
Maybe just a couple of comments. I know we talked about this a lot, and maybe you're going to talk about it, but messaging, are you going to talk about that?
So I'll hit on it, that we do need to definitely increase our conservation messaging. And I've spoke with Jordan Valley just a couple weeks ago, and they're introducing a new water campaign because they're thinking that residents and throughout the state are getting tired of the same messages, so they're changing the branding a little bit and the messaging that's going out. So they are changing those things, and they'll be sending that out to all the cities within their district if they haven't already, to start sharing that.
Will you maybe just a couple of things to think about, and I know we've talked about this a lot, but we have to stop messaging drought. We have to stop talking about drought, because this isn't about drought. This is about, we live in a very dry climate, and we continue to grow people here. And so we're going to continue to have a worse and worse problem. And so I know that they've been trying to do things different, but you can see what happens when people focus on, oh no, it's a drought. We're in a terrible drought. Let's save. And then as soon as you get a little water, then everything rebounds back up. But if you can maybe just hit on that a little bit with them and maybe push those campaigns in that direction that we talk about that. I've also listened to conversation from people recently that are tired of the growth, mad about the growth, and not going to stop watering their lawn because they were here first. And why do they have to stop watering their lawn? There was plenty of water before all these people moved in. So I can sympathize with some of that feeling, right? We all can sympathize with that a little bit, right? I say that when I get on the road and have to drive, all the impacts that we're feeling, but it's not going to go away. The only way you can prevent that, I guess, is to buy every piece of ground around you and say nobody can live on it. I don't know, but we have to figure out a way to combat that message also, somehow to get some messaging out there that. Of course, we understand that that's frustrating. These particular people are actually out in Tooele, and they were already on pretty severe water restrictions out there this summer. And it will happen to all of us at some point if we don't figure out a way to change our habits. It's like if you go on a diet and you only do it until you lose the weight and then you go back to normal eating, you're going to go back to your other weight. It has to be a lifestyle change, and that's the same with water consumption. We have to start talking about this as a lifestyle change, not as conservation because we're in a drought, but a lifestyle change because we live in a climate that doesn't support our water use. I'm just talking to the choir right here. I know you know all this, but it just feels like somehow we're missing the messaging. And I think that people are sick of seeing signs with people with green vests on, or you know what I mean, or brown is the new green. People get tired of that.
Yeah.
So we have to figure out something, but it has to be a lifestyle change. Sorry, I interrupted your whole flow.
Nope, you're good. I'm turning it over to Anthony now, so.
All right. So yeah, we'll just look real quick here at the city-owned water usage, and this is mainly referring to our park irrigation, the water that's used in our restrooms, splash pads, that sort of thing. So overall, the usage is up over this last year compared to the previous 3 years. We did surpass 50 million gallons there in July, but that is to be expected considering the growth that we've had in the Parks Department over the last several years. If you look at this next graph, you'll see that the previous 3 years we were trending downwards. We were trending towards less water usage over the last few years. However, there was quite a large uptick this most recent year. Several factors we feel play into that. And again, this is showing the gallons per acre of water use increasing compared to the acreage that has also increased. But I think there's several factors that play into that. Number one being the weather that we've experienced, as Justin explained, extreme drought, excuse me, not drought. We virtually had zero precipitation through April, May, or excuse me, June, July, and August this year. So with that, we're unable to turn the irrigation systems off, which, one significant storm during the summer, we're able to shut the entire city irrigation system off for 3 or 4 days at a time, which you do that 2 or 3 times throughout the summer, that adds up to significant savings in water. Unfortunately, this last year, we just weren't able to do that. So that coupled with the higher temperatures than normal, I think we had to use more water to maintain our same level of service that we've provided in the past. Another thing, we did have the construction and establishment of 2 large parks, Mountain Ridge Park being one, Monument Park in Olympia is another. Well, when you construct large open fields like that, the establishment process takes a little while. You're watering those areas 3 and 4 times a day in order to establish that turf. So there was a little bit of increased usage there, which I think also maybe drove up our usage a little bit. As a Parks Department, we remain committed to water conservation. These are the BMPs that we implemented a number of years ago, and we were continuing to implement these best management practices. I won't go through each one. I think you're all familiar with them. But just to touch on a few, we are doing regular audits and inspections on our park areas. We are committed to maintaining a certain mow height, which really helps with water conservation. We're continuing to water our passive, what we call passive areas, passive recreation areas that aren't necessarily used for sports. We water them less, no more than 3 times a week will we turn on water there. Our sports fields obviously they require a little bit more water than those passive areas, so we do, if needed, we'll water those up to 5 times a week. But we're committed as a whole, as a department, to conserve water. I hope that the trend that you saw in the last several years is testament to that. I think we were trending nicely downward to less water usage. And I think hopefully if Mother Nature cooperates next year, we'll be able to get back at about that same level. I think this year was a little bit of an anomaly. Hopefully we can get things in line with those previous 3 years. So I don't know if there's any comments or questions there. If not, I'll just turn the time back over to Justin to wrap
No,
up.
but I sure love the new things that you put out in front of City Hall.
It
with
turned
the
out nice.
stormwater and everything.
Really cool.
that's, again, another example of ways to help with our water
We're done with
conservation.
grant money.
Yeah,
big grants.
exactly,
The
with
city
grant
just
money.
paying more money to re-landscape.
Yes.
And also, I'd throw the medians out in front of City Hall here
Yes.
on Main Street. It'll be great to get that sod removed. We'll go with water efficient landscaping out there. I think that's a great step in the right direction. So.
Yeah, that's great. So those are just great examples of things you guys are doing to really help from the city's point also.
Yeah, so just to wrap up here, we've already touched on the continued conservation messaging. John and his team do a great job on pushing those things out, but as we've mentioned, I think with the increased snowpack the last few years and maybe people hearing the same messages over and over again. So hopefully some of those things will change. And the water efficiency standards, I think, are helping reduce water consumption overall. And then obviously with some of the things that we just talked about, our Parks Department is looking at ways to reduce our overall water consumption. And I will say they're great. They come to the water department and get monthly water reports so that they can see exactly where the water is being used and how much and makes adjustments off of that. So they are trying on a monthly basis throughout the summer. So any additional questions?
Great presentation. Thanks for the data.
Thank you.
Thank you, Justin and Anthony. Appreciate what you guys do. Okay, we'll go to item 9, our consent agenda tonight. I'll look for a motion on that.
Motion to approve the consent agenda as written.
Motion by Jared,
Second.
second by Teddy. Jared?
Yes.
Teddy?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. That motion carries. Go to item 10.1, consideration of a land purchase agreement with Olympia Ranch LLC for the purchase of 7.5 acres of road right-of-way for future U-111 and Herriman Boulevard. Bryce?
Okay, good evening, council. So this is a follow-up, kind of the next step of the process. If you recall, we came to the council to apply for funds through the Corridor Preservation Fund through the county for an application to purchase right-of-way. So the location, there's kind of 2 roadway areas that this purchase agreement would cover. It's in Olympia area, kind of right at the edge of Olympia where the future U-111 is going to be, and Herriman Boulevard, and even a portion of existing Herriman Boulevard. So in between 6,000 West and 6,400 West. So the kind of breakdown of the purchase agreement is here kind of summarized. So it's $2,640,000 from the Salt Lake County Corridor Preservation Fund. As I mentioned, it's an acquisition of 2 roadway areas. In the application process, the area for the U-111 corridor was considered a donation, and then the Herriman Boulevard is actually the purchase area, the acquisition area, but both would be included with this acquisition. And so the purchase amount for that is that amount that was awarded by Salt Lake County Corridor Preservation Fund for $2,640,000 from the city to purchase it from the landowner, Olympia Ranch LLC. One note is that this will be contingent on approval from the Salt Lake County Council, which we have talked to the county. That should be happening at the end of this month. And so we wouldn't go forward with any closing until that occurs. And then the process is that we do front the cost, and then those funds are used to reimburse the city for the purchase of the right-of-way. Here's kind of the exhibits of the areas that I mentioned. So out west at the very end of 126 or Herriman Boulevard, where it will be extended, and then as U-111 comes through, that's the area in blue there. And then the area in green is along Herriman Boulevard to widen the road, but also the existing road was actually only on an easement and not on right-of-way. And so this clears the right-of-way 100% into our name. So with that, I can answer any questions that you may have.
Pretty straightforward. Okay, I'll look for a motion. Thank you,
I-
Bryce.
I was just making a
Oh,
comment to Todd that if the half of it's a donation, that's just in context of our last conversation, that's $700,000.
that's what,
I was
she
just-
said the
I
same thing to me.
calculated myself, I'm like,
Yep.
this is 700, almost 700 grand an acre. It's crazy for a road.
Motion to approve resolution number R51-2025, approving the execution of a land purchase agreement with Olympia Ranch LLC for the acquisition of 3.88 acres of right-of-way property located approximately 6300 west, 126 south, in the amount of $2.640 million.
Second?
Motion by Jared, second by Teddy. Jared?
Yes.
Teddy?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. That motion carries. Thank you again, Bryce. Okay, item 10.2, discussion and consideration of a resolution releasing city interest in a property located at approximately 12225 South Herriman, Main. Todd?
This is just a continuation from our previous discussion last week, as well as just for some context, the city entered into a land transfer agreement a few years ago, and there were some obligations in there that weren't fulfilled. The city recently entered into a revised land transfer agreement with certain obligations that were not fulfilled. So this is a continuation on potentially just selling the property as instead of having these certain development obligations in there. So I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them.
I'll just make the comment that we received and reviewed an offer. I don't know that there's much more to say other than I don't think that it meets our expectations at all. So I'll make a motion to deny the request to release Herriman City's interest in property located at 12225 South Herriman Main Street.
Motion by Jared,
Second.
second by Sherry. Let's go Sherry. Teddy?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes as well. That motion carries. That brings us to the close of our meeting tonight. We will, future meetings coming up. Our next planning commission meeting is next Wednesday at 7 o'clock. Our next council meeting is October 8th at 7 o'clock. Events coming up every Monday night. The food trucks are still out front here at Crane Park. And then, of course, on the 6th, the Herriman Howl, when 10,000 little kids
Amazing.
ascend on for one of the best events of the year. So that's on the 6th at 5 o'clock. We've done our closed already, so I just need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.